Hey there, today we're going to talk about fish species I will never keep. Now I know this might sound like a personal preference, and if you're an experienced aquarist, you'll believe that the aquarium world is your oyster. But after this video, you might want to rethink about keeping these fish. Let's dive in. Starting out with the Gulpher Catfish. This behemoth can reach up to 12 to 14 inches in size, and from that alone, you better believe you're gonna need a large aquarium. And it's not even their size that's the problem. There are plenty of fish that grow to this size that do plenty fine in a 4-foot long tank, and technically the gulper will do fine in that size tank, but the problem is that their mouth and their appetite are insane. This fish is called the gulper fish for a reason. I've seen them eat fish twice their size. The craziest animal I've seen them gulp down was a full-grown beachier. Because of their ability to eat anything, even fish bigger than them, they are best kept alone or with fish way bigger than them, to which you have to worry about them getting eaten or bullied themselves. It's also difficult to set up a tank since they're scaleless and they're susceptible to injury if you have anything edged or sharp decor. If they get sick, you gotta be cautious on what medication you use so you don't poison your catfish. Advanced care eats practically anything and large. Seems like a cool idea to watch it devour a fish larger than it, but not worth the hassle. Hard pass. Oh, mollies. While they have a striking color varieties, this is a species I would not recommend. They can be eye-catching with their sleek black and vibrant orange color varieties, but they can be super temperamental, requiring hard water conditions that usually don't work for other tropical fish. Swordtails, while a cool-sounding fish species, are the bigger livebearers you can purchase in the hobby. And both of these are heavy breeders and can quickly reproduce. If left unchecked, swordfish can breed 50 fry per spawning. And if the fry aren't eaten by their parents, they will quickly overpopulate a tank. My advice with either, if you want to keep them, is have a large tank or consider smaller livebearers like guppies or endlers, where you might be able to actually handle the population explosion. Let's talk about the infamous piranha. Okay, sure, they've got a whole terrifying reputation with their sharp teeth and ability to turn a peaceful lake into a feeding frenzy. I mean, that just makes for some super intense press and horror movie plot, right? Right? I think that alone is enough of a red flag for you. If you're edgy and thinking about keeping a school of these little guys at home, you better have a seriously large tank, because they need their space to swim or lurk beneath the surface. Now, a lot of fish keepers are drawn to the idea of owning them because, let's face it, having a school of piranhas sounds pretty cool in theory. You're like a Bond villain. However, the reality is often a bit of a letdown since these fish aren't exactly the life of the party. They're actually pretty bland and have a lackluster personality. And they're surprisingly sedentary in nature, just kind of floating around their tank rather than putting on a show. Oh, and let's not forget their predatory nature, because they definitely have a knack for eating smaller fish. The media and movies give them this horror film-inducing vibe, but in reality, they're just boring and they get large. If you'd like a similar fish that's close to the piranha, then try out the silver dollar fish instead. They've got a nice shape, they look like them, and they have a peaceful demeanor. Plus, they won't leave you with that constant nagging worry about what's for dinner in your tank, unless it's plants. Then, yeah, they're gonna annihilate your plants. Don't let the name fool you. The Chinese algae eater is a complete fraud, nothing but a phony. They don't really eat algae, and this false impression is due to their sucker mouth, which actually functions as an anchor to surfaces in order to avoid getting carried away by strong water current. Yeah, it just kind of helps them remain stationary in flooded rivers and fast-moving waters. They're semi-aggressive and usually aggressive towards their own kind and when they're not fed well. They're also competitive and territorial, so if you don't want the drama, ditch the Chinese algae eater. If you actually want an algae eater, pick one from the top of my tier list in the card above. It's one of my most popular videos. Alright, not to discriminate or anything, but the flowerhorn is not something appealing to my eyeballs. It kind of looks like they bonked their head against the Hulk's fist. What more is that they need a 75-gallon tank, and well, that's just for one fish. Although some would have a preference for this fish, I'm not too keen on its appearance. The fish can take up a lot of space for just one flowerhorn. Imagine one single fish in a very open tank, because guess what? They are very aggressive, so this is the reason why they're kept alone. The best you can do is keep them in a pair, and if you try a mated pair, make sure you got plenty of hiding spaces for the female. Next up is the Convict Cichlid, and living up to its name, this fish is known to be a highly aggressive species. though they only span about 4 inches, but man, they are small and terrible. While many cichlids are territorial and do just fine, you can tolerate their existence, but the convict stands out because they've got the ability to reproduce as much as livebearers. Seriously, if you've got a pair, not only will they harass everyone or murder all your fish while breeding, they're gonna fill up the tank with a ton of babies. So many that you'll be wanting to run them down to the fish store to try to give them a good home. However, you will probably happen to be one of many hobbyists trying to do the same thing. They're way too fertile for me, and I just prefer to have other cichlids. Or I'll just stick to an African cichlid tank, which have way more colorful fish. Arowanas are literally space takers. Even the smaller ones span a few feet long, and with that, of course, is the need for a bigger tank, like literally big enough to fit a full-size one. Apart from that, it's quite difficult to find a tank mate for these fish, as anything smaller than them or anything that fits in their mouth is essentially just food. Finding a good tank mate for this fish just seems impossible, except for stingrays. They actually work great together, but you're gonna need a huge tank. In fact, if you want other fish with them, we're talking a monster-sized tank. Time to give up that guest bedroom. Arowanas are known for their jumpy personality. Literally, they jump out of the tank. So if you're not locked in 24/7 and you don't have a tight-fitting lid on your tank, you best believe they're gonna take any opportunity to jump out of that tank. So make sure you've got a tight lid that's weighed down completely to prevent them from escaping. Honestly, I'd love to keep this fish. Why is it on this list though? Because the ones I want, you can't get in the US. Those are Asian arowana. We're talking these are a dream fish to me, but you can't get them here and they're super expensive. Goldfish are the stereotypical species to keep in a tank, but getting the fancy ones like the Oranda, Lionhead, Ranchu, or Fantail, and you've got to be on the lookout for absolute cleanliness. Sure, they might be very good looking in the tank, I get it. They're flowy, draping fins and their unique body appearance and features, but they're quite messy in terms of their feces. Other goldfish way overbreed, or they've got features that barely allow them to swim, or give them delicate parts like bubble-eyed goldfish. If I'm gonna buy one, I'm going with a slim body variety, but those fish are best in ponds. And if I'm gonna go for a pond fish, I'm just gonna lean towards koi and going all out. Yeah, you can totally mix them together, but in an aquarium, I'm just not considering goldfish. Another candidate on this list is large plecos. Again, having a large fish will require a larger tank and big time care. You'll need to start off with a 75-gallon tank, and once they grow to adulthood, you're gonna need to transfer them to an even larger tank with a water capacity of 180 gallons and up. I actually used to take care of one when I worked at a fish store that was kept in an indoor pond. With fish this large comes the need for better equipment like a very powerful filter and regularly changing the tank water to maintain the desired parameters of the pleco. They prefer water similar to tropical habitats, so it's essential to have a water heater. They're often known as janitor fish to some aquarists, although their sucker mouth is not as effective in cleaning algae in your tank, as they're mainly just used to latching themselves into the substrate to prevent them from getting dragged by strong currents. While they are low maintenance, I think there are better fish to care for, and plecos are for more experienced fish keepers. If you want a pleco, go with a bristlenose. The Hachetfish is known for their unique light-producing organs. These are mainly to avoid predators in the vicinity, and now that might sound awesome, but I'd rather not keep this fish. The reason is they can't always be schooled with their own kind. They like to bicker with other Hachetfish species, although they do okay with others. What's more is that these fish like to jump out of your tank, so you're gonna need a tight lid for this species. They're surface dwellers, so you're gonna need to be vigilant of how they move around, and they are escape artists through and through. They are small, narrow fish, and the tiniest opening is a means of escape for them. Don't be surprised if these fish unalive themselves on your floor if your tank isn't completely covered. Since they're surface dwellers, they can be underfed once they grow older, as they'd rather eat from the surface of the tank and really don't like to swim down to catch sinking foods. It's really challenging to keep this fish alive. They're way too much of a hassle for me. If I want a cool surface fish, I'm gonna go for gourami, paradise fish, pencilfish, or bettas. Oh man, that's a good list right there. Maybe that's the video I should do. Think I should? Leave a comment at the bottom of this video and let me know. If I get enough requests, I'll get a video done. Or there might already be one in a card above if I already made it. Alright, so this is my personal list, but what are things you should look out for if you see a fish that strikes your fancy at the fish store? Let me give you a quick checklist to keep you from disaster. Large fish, anything larger than 5 inches, is gonna need a bigger tank and more care in general. Aggressive or territorial fish, fish that breed a lot, like livebearers, nippy fish, or fish with long and flowing fins that are slow moving. Some fish sold in the hobby are honestly best kept in public aquariums or very large tanks. Promise me you'll always do your research, and if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment below. Now, while these are my personal opinions, it's still up to you if you're up for the challenge of taking care of these species. Just make sure you do your due diligence, and make sure you're willing to undergo a lot of specific care and maintenance. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to be updated with our latest videos. Also, check out our website for everything and anything aquarium hobby related. And better yet, click on the next video to your right. Until next time, we will see ya.